Do we recharge a little bit? Isn't it interesting, right? Just to eat something, walk outside and get some sunshine and just unplug. Brain gets to rest a little bit. You get to have some social time and just kind of put some deposits back in. And it's a perfect example of kind of what happens, the distribution of energy. You know, we gave a lot of energy this morning. You were processing a lot. You were really actively engaged, of which I'm grateful for. And all that requires energy. And I'm thankful. And so I'm glad we had a little rehab time to reboot. So I think what I'll do, and folks can come into this, so if they start coming back in and filtering in around you, just be aware that we are never able to control our environments a lot of times. Had a really cool conversation with Michelle during the break, and she was talking about going to the beach and how the place that they stayed was right on the water, and that was ideal, but maybe the quarters were really tight, not exactly what was ideal. And we were talking about how environment really impacts us energetically. And the people around us can impact us. Anything that is going to create energy, and we get that from sounds, from activity, from people. And one thing that we can try to do is be mindful of those things that really create some stress and anxiety, and we didn't talk about it this morning, but have you ever heard the clear the clutter? Clear the clutter. And it folds in really nicely with some of the efficiencies that we were just talking about, is when you have 20 things open on your computer and you don't shut them down or finish the task, and you leave and come back the next day, it's pretty daunting to go back in all those folders and figure out, well, where was I? Where do I want to put this? Where did I file it? Did I finish this one? I can't remember. And so we can have clutter in paperwork. We can have clutter in our computer. We can have clutter in our car. We can have clutter in our house. When we don't tidy things up and leave them in an organized fashion, it's really disruptive, especially when we come back to it and it's like, where are those keys? Where's that folder? Did I finish that file? Where did I file that? And then when we're visually, because we're very visual people, in a room, for example, when there's clutter all around, the brain is constantly thinking, I want to fix that. I want to organize that. I want to change that. I want to put that away. And so it's interesting, the clearing the clutter in your mind, what we think about, what we ruminate, clearing the clutter in our workspaces, even computers, because we do a lot of organization using technology now, clearing the clutter in our homes, clearing the clutter in our classrooms, clearing the clutter so the brain can settle. The brain can settle. And often when things are more organized, we can be more efficient with time because we don't lose things. And I don't know if you're like me, but when I go to get a document I worked on a year ago and I can't find it and I know I spent 10 hours working on it, that is so frustrating and it causes stress. So just kind of sharing that as a little bonus as people are coming back in. Because I thought about, we can, there's a lot of things we can organize, but our environment has a lot of impact on us as well. So I think everybody's back now. So I hope we're recharged and we put some deposits in our tank and you're not in a deficit with your bank account. So I'm going to have everybody just close your eyes again. And we won't stay here nearly as long, but I just want to ground us. And same intention is just to close your eyes and come back to breath. And just for about a minute, just breathe. And I'm going to have you just hear this sound. As you're breathing, just maybe for a moment reflecting on the accomplishments that you've made today, the insights, what you've learned, and maybe how some of the learning has impacted you, even today, how you feel. Coming back to your intention and re-anchoring. What do I want to gain from this afternoon? As you're breathing, just noticing the information that you're getting from your body in the form of sensation. Maybe you feel full, tired, inspired. But let that awareness inform you. So much information that we have that we can tap into. Maybe a little bit of compassion for yourself. So just anchoring breath. And for a moment, maybe this sound. What does this remind you of? Maybe there's a place that it takes you. And maybe that reflection, that place or time in your life, maybe there is some emotional connection to that space and time. And I guess for today, I would hope that it would take you to a place of joy. A place of joy. Just take a nice deep breath. Inhale. Let it go. Exhale. And just coming back when you're ready to the present moment. So anchoring in sound, anchoring in breath, checking out to check in, even using sound as an evoker of emotion or memory. That sound reminds me of swinging on my grandmother's front porch when I was a little girl. And I would hear the wind chimes that she had in the carport. The carport, that's been a long time ago, right? I'm aging myself. So that was less than 2 minutes, y'all. 2 minutes, that's it. Sometimes you can hold complete silence. There doesn't need to be any prompting, any guided meditation. Sometimes just breathing and checking in can be very powerful, but just 2 minutes. So we feel ready to go again? All right, we're fueled up and ready to go. So this morning we focused on me, right? Self, oxygen mask here, and then I can be more available to other people around me. So we're moving from that me to we group dynamics. And we have teams in our lives, both personally and professionally, and a lot of times they work very similarly. There may be more comfort and awareness with your inner circle of friends and family, but clearly there's similar dynamics that still work within those tight groups, just like they do a group today that you've never met before, or a team that you just started working with. So I'm going backwards to a break. Here we go. So let me go, because I always think this is kind of nice. So what we covered this morning was the 5P change model, right? Pause, process, plan, pivot, and proceed with greater intention. We talked about self-awareness. We actually did some self-awareness techniques. We just came out of one. We talked about the types of stress we've experienced and talked about the mind-body connection. We talked about the impact of stress, how to manage stress, some mindfulness techniques were embedded. My hope is that you broaden your perspective of health and well-being, and we started to socialize this word ideal being. And what does that mean to me? Well, it's unique and different, and how might I align my time and energy and do the things and spend time with the people that help me get deposits, that help me fill up with energy. And how might that align with my core values, what I want my life to look like, my best self, my ideal self. So that's some heavy ground. I mean, I think we're halfway up Mount Kilimanjaro. That's a lot of learning. And the intention is, I think you as teachers, you know we have to repeat until we master something. So we learn it, we hear it, we learn it, we do it, we repeat that, and then we start teaching it. And then we master it, we start doing it. So do not expect to graduate from master's program today in self-care, but clearly we've taken some really good steps to hopefully broaden perspective. Examine emotional intelligence and 9 team building attributes. That is number 1. Number 2 is cultivate personal awareness regarding your conflict management style. Has anybody ever tested your conflict management style? Or have a little bit of awareness around it? Yeah, it's kind of fun. Gain insight to enhance your personal and professional growth and strategies to improve team dynamics. So, EQ, how are you showing up for yourself, your family, your coworkers, in the world? So it starts with self-awareness, our ability to self-regulate, our ability to be fully present, connected, engaged, actively listening, and really hearing what someone's saying. Not jumping to a conclusion, trying to solve or come up with what you're going to say, but actively listening and hearing, even though what they're saying may not align with your own opinion and perspectives, right? That's emotional intelligence, being awake and aware of how you're stepping into a situation, pausing to look around and knowing that we're not all the same, and being open to truly lean in and seek mutual understanding. EQ, we talk about it as sort of the new IQ, so we've got skills that we want to be able to perfect, we want to master things, but this behavioral side of competencies, what am I doing to show up with the behavior that's going to allow the team dynamics to be more effective? You could have 10 really smart IT people at the table, all know how to code, all know the behind the scenes with the computer, but if they've got a big project and they can't collaborate and communicate about something that's complex that they need to solve, without the interpersonal and intrapersonal skills, they won't be able to do it. They probably could do it okay, but they're certainly not going to achieve optimal outcomes. Would y'all agree with that? All right. So, EQ mindset, train your brain, know yourself, mind-body connection, self-awareness and regulation, internal. How might I know what's happening? How might I govern? How I might respond? Social awareness is what's going on outside, not just with people, but energy around me. Relationship management, interrelatedness. So interrelatedness. So I know how to relate to myself because I know what's going on. But how am I going to relate to you? Well, I don't know how you're feeling. I probably need to check in. I need to be really present. Maybe ask some questions around that, right, before we go straight to solve. Kind of nice to have a meeting that starts with, how are you doing? How's your energy? Anything really causing you some stress this morning? It helps. It helps to frame up psychological safety for people to feel like they can exhale and be authentic. Doesn't mean you spend 20 minutes in the first, an hour meeting doing that, but only takes about 2 or 3 minutes just to check in, to acknowledge. So that's a good standard practice that is great in every team dynamic. EQ mindset, be present, curious, seek mutual understanding, adopt a mindset of stronger together. So, anybody heard of Johari's window? Ooh, another quadrant. I love graphics, and I love things that have some research-based backing. And this helps when you're coaching. It helps you when you're coaching yourself, and it helps when you're coaching others, because we all are on a journey, and some people are a little bit more self-aware than others. And you might have that friend that's always late, and they have no idea that they are always late. And you are hyper-aware that they're always late, and that's impacting the dynamic. And so if you're really their good friend, you might say, hey, there's been this pattern, and you are the kindest person on the planet, and I know you would not do something that would come across as disrespectful. But when you're late, it creates this dynamic, and it makes me feel like I'm not valuable, like my time's not valuable. And so it's, how might I recognize I have blind spots, because we all do, things that we are not even aware of ourselves, or things that we hold really close to the vest because we don't want other people to know. And then what do other people know about me that I have no idea? Well, when you're coaching somebody, that's the secret sauce. Where are the blind spots? Not for judgment or criticism or shame or blame, but name it, claim it, slay it, honor it, and move on and get better as a result of being willing to look at things that are less well developed. Doesn't mean they can't get developed, and it might mean that you never want that to be really that well developed because it's not that important to you. But if things that you're doing are affecting other people over and over again in a way that's not optimal, that's probably a pattern worth focusing on. And if you see that in a coworker, probably getting to the root of the issue, a private conversation, one-on-one, coming from a place of love and respect, and honoring, because we're all different, right? We all have behaviors and patterns that are some great and some not so great. But how might we help each other? So this sort of just frames up that no matter how old we are, no matter how smart we are, we all have blind spots. And that to shine the spotlight into a dark closet creates hope and light. And that's how change happens. And so if we can look at our blind spots as opportunity for growth, what a beautiful way to reframe, rather than I'm deficit in this, I'm not well developed, I don't do this well. Because all of that thinking, you begin to feed that narrative. You begin to feed that narrative. That's kind of heavy. Y'all hanging with me? That's true though, right? You have friends that, oh, she has a blind spot, or oh, he doesn't realize. So do we, and so do we, and so do we. So EQ, going backwards again. I'm gonna get this clicker. I'm gonna manage this clicker before it manages me. So perception, has anybody seen this graphic? It's pretty famous, right? It's pretty famous, but I like it because, you see her and then you see the goblets. And so, how do you stay open to what someone sees, feels, and believes when you don't? You don't see it. And, some people see one thing and they cannot find the other. And some people see the other thing and can't find the other. And then sometimes when I sort of project there's a goblet and women, you're like, oh, now I see it, right? So I love this phrase, because it's not always easy, right? Is consider both and. For a moment, have a mindset of both and. And even though you might not agree, you might land in the middle because you found common ground. And so rather than battling one another, you build off of where the actual commonality is. All right. Wait. All right, so what causes conflict? What do y'all think? What are some things that you're like, this definitely causes it? Misunderstanding. Poor communication. Different goals, yeah. Different values, that's a tough one, yeah. Lack of resources. Amen. Assumptions, yes. Yeah. Anything else? Those are some really good ones. Those are solid. Lack of alignment, communication, differing viewpoints, misunderstanding, desire to win. Lack of resources was said, that's definitely a big one, right? Because I need more and you want more of me, but I can't do more because I don't have the resources to do it. Well, that's a quandary, right? So where's that middle ground? That's a tough one to find, but it won't be solved unless you find it, right? And sometimes you have to think outside the box. You have to get with other people to collaborate. You have to get like-minded people that want the same goal, that might see it in a different way. They might come up with a different way to solve. So not sitting by yourself wishing it would get better. Conflict gets solved when we work together. And conflict's good, y'all. If we didn't have conflict, we would not be able to progress past just one opinion. That would be such a myopic way to live, right? I want somebody to have a different opinion. Because guess what? I might learn from you. I might change my position. I might go, I don't quite see it that way, but I got a sliver of that. And all of a sudden that fired my brain up to think about it in an entirely different way. So it's pretty cool, like when we can really think about conflict. But did anybody go to school to learn how to deal with conflict? So you know where we learned it? Kind of moving through life, our parents, our friends, our family of origin, our DNA. So if there's no roadmap and there's no common language, it's really hard to feel ready to step into this place and feel confident. So that's what we're going to talk about this afternoon, is sort of communication, conflict, collaboration, and we're going to use some tools. One of the tools is mutual learning, those 9 attributes. I went back and got my master's from Queens 7 years ago. I'm a late bloomer, y'all, and I'm so glad I went. And this framework I learned, and I literally have one of the handouts that I gave you sitting to the right of my computer, and I look at it every single day. That is what that one graphic, this one piece or tool has given me, and I use it in my life. So that's my hope, is that we get to unpack and use some frameworks that will resonate for you and make it easier to step into conflict with courage. So conflict, we saw this picture earlier, it stresses us out, right? I mean, at least most of us. unless you have a conflict style that likes conflict. And there are people that enjoy conflict. They want to win, and they just rally in it, and you might self-identify with that. But what happens to most of the people, good, bad, or indifferent, is we get really stressed, and that affects us mentally, emotionally, and physically. And remember that part of the brain that shuts down, danger, danger, warning, warning, the amygdala starts cranking up, and then we get anxious and we can't have logical conversations, and we get stressed out, emotional, and then usually that's not the best place to really have solid conversations that are productive, right? So if we find ourselves triggered, we have to get out of that triggered space in order to stay present and move forward logically, unemotionally tethered with things that could really derail us and trigger us and not let us have an ideal conversation. So using those techniques from this morning, the breathing, the pausing, the like, I don't think I'm equipped to talk about this right now. Can we talk about it tomorrow? Negotiate a deadline to be shifted because you're not prepared, right? And you don't need to be put into a situation where you're not going to be the best version of yourself. And it's okay to say no and to set a boundary. There it is, all the things we talked about this morning, showing back up in conflict. So awareness, what is your style? Yielding, compromising, avoiding, forcing, problem solving. Y'all ready to take the quiz? So if you saw those words, maybe you could self-identify with where you think you are, right? And then if you take the quiz, which is the number one sheet on top that I gave you. I've got extra for some reason if you don't have yours. You need one? Let's see, I've got, wait. So, it's pretty self-explanatory. You just answer the question, circle your number, and then when you're finished, you add the numbers up. How many do y'all need? Just one? There you go. I sure do, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, sweetheart. It's a whole package.
Oh, yeah. I was going to just pass it.
Thank you. Which one do you need? Here, I'll just give you a whole package. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I think they need it. Yeah, there you go. And I got an extra one if anybody wants to take it home to your spouse. And so, your significant other. So, just take a little bit of time and fill it out, and then you add your numbers, and that's self-explanatory in the back as well. And then we'll unpack these different styles. Awareness, again, how do I profile based on an evidence-based psychometric test, which you can take online. This is sort of the printed version that you can take in this kind of environment. Is it 150% or 100% valid? It's pretty tested, so you can assume that the information is accurate, but there are exceptions to every rule. If you don't self-identify with the number and your style, go home and ask somebody that really knows you and see if they agree. I'm just going to kind of watch the room because this, I want you to have time to get through it and to add the numbers up. So I'll kind of just watch for when everybody's finished. Okay. I'm just going to talk for a little bit in case you haven't totally finished calculating. And I was just chatting, I want to know your name, Amy. And she said something really powerful, and I think it's important to point out, is the higher the stakes, the higher the risk, we can sometimes hunker into our style even more deeply. So some things that aren't as important to us, we're more apt to just let it go. But if we think about the stuff that really challenges our core values or something that's really very important to us, we can double down. We can double down. And so how might we learn how to move with greater ease regardless of how severe the conflict is or how important it is to me? And that's awareness, right? Is like, oh, okay, I'm really triggered on this one because this impacts me directly, or it affects my child, or it affects my finances, right? So those high stake items, we tend to lock in even tighter. So how might you be aware of that and give yourself some compassion? I mean, I don't blame you. These are important things, but how might that even inform you more to say, okay, I have a tendency to really push on this one, so let me just check myself before I wreck myself, right? So yeah. So just a show of hands, how many people align with what you thought you might be just by seeing the word and what that word would, okay, a pretty self-aware group. So I'll unpack so there's common language, and I'm gonna give you definitions. The blue out to the side, often, this is Thomas Kilman's conflict model, but there is some language that's slightly different out there, so I just put, sometimes collaborating is referred to as problem solving, and accommodating is referred to as yielding. So I'm probably gonna use the blue today, but I just wanna read you, and this is not a lot, but I want you to hear for common language purposes, yielding. Yielding involves giving in completely to the other side's wishes, or at least cooperating with little or no attention to your own interest. This style involves making unilateral concessions, unconditional promises, and offering help with no expectation of reciprocal help. That makes sense. I'm yielding, right? And we can think about how that might create some challenges long term. Boundaries, codependency, not taking care of yourself, not standing in your power, shrinking because someone else is louder, stronger, more forceful. No judgment, none. But in that awareness, what can I do to build some skills around that? Compromising. Compromising involves looking for a position in which your losses are offset by equally valued gains. It involves matching the other party's concessions, making conditional promises or threats, and actively searching for a middle ground between the interest of two parties. Compromising. Compromising can be good unless you compromise something that's really important to you, and you're not going to be happy if you've yielded on something that's really important to you. Sometimes you can, it just depends on how high the stakes are, sometimes situational. Avoiding. Avoiding tries to soothe over or avoid conflict situations altogether. It represents a low concern for both self and the other party. In other words, avoiders try to suppress thinking about conflict. Conflict averse. There are whole cultures that are conflict averse. I go in and I do organization development work. I do strategic planning with companies. I work with leadership and leadership development. And you can see the leader's fingerprints all over the organization. And if you have leaders that aren't willing to talk about and discuss the undiscussables, guess what behavior tends to permeate the organization? Doesn't mean you can't create a subculture and have a team dynamic where you're trying to advocate for healthier conflict resolution techniques and conversations and strategies, because we are microcosms, and school definitely represents that. We think about the entire school system. We think about the administrators, superintendents who are affecting change, policymakers, people that have power, but we don't have to yield. We don't have to follow someone's behavior just because they're the boss. Now, we might have to respect and work in that environment strategically, but there are ways that you can not avoid things that need to be discussed, even if everybody else is. Make sense? Forcing. All right. Forcing tries to win the conflict at the other's expense. Well, there's some lawyers out there that probably fit this bill really well. Now, whether they function in their life like that, but that's their profession, is to win. Sports, it is their profession to win. So it has its place, right? It definitely has its place. It includes hard influence tactics, particularly assertiveness to get one's own way. So a forceful person that's self-aware can actually be quite powerful because they know the power that they wield and they harness it and they use it for good. And they pause and let other people have an opinion and they realize that their nature is to take control. Now, an unwielding person that's forceful, that could wreak havoc, right? So how am I showing up? That's part of the equation. How are you showing up and how do we show up? Especially when we're not in alignment. Conflict, right? But knowing who I am and who you are gives me more information to know how to navigate strategically. Problem solving. Problem solving tries to find a mutually beneficial solution for both parties. Information sharing is an important feature of this style because both parties need to identify common ground, potential solutions that satisfy both or all of them. So consensus can be the death of brilliance because we're all agreeing on the lowest common denominator. And I'm not saying that always happens. There's a lot of times we reach consensus and everybody's really happy. But we've probably talked through it and collaborated and found common good and all agreed that, hey, I can live with that. I don't need $1 million. I'll take $750,000. That's fine with me, right? I mean, that would be real nice. But how does this feel for everybody? Like having taken a moment just to kind of reflect. And knowing that your style is matched by 4 others. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So you're showing up in your style. And how does that, if you reflect for a second, you think about a situation where there's conflict, how did you behave as a result of your tendency? Or how would you have behaved, but you're more enlightened and you've evolved and you've worked on yourself? Or how is the other person showing up with complete unawareness and they are showing up in one of these styles that is derailing our ability to manage through to the other side? So it's kind of cool to sort of know where you sit on the continuum and where other people do as well. And then knowing that that person, that's where they want to live. That's where they're really, really comfortable. And so when you push against and you try to get somebody to be something that they're not naturally kind of in their DNA, that can make them uncomfortable. So how do you work together to create comfort when there is in fact conflict and you all kind of show up with a different filter and a different way of managing it? So that means the forcers are going to have to make space for the people that avoid. Say, hey, I know this might be uncomfortable for you, but let's talk through it. Let's create a safe space. What's your objective for today? I really want to hear your opinion, and I'll give you mine because you know I always do. But I want to make some space to like create more of a dialogue than a monologue. And so how do you begin to open dialogue around the fact that we are different and we process differently? And we hold space for that and actually celebrate it, because who wants to walk through life with a duplicate of 10 other people just like you, surrounding you? That'd be kind of boring. So how can we celebrate each other's differences and communicate through challenges with respect? Good? Helpful? Will you go home and maybe have some more awareness of who you are and who those other people are? All right. So I'm going to play something that I think is really funny. I hope y'all do too. And I heard it when I was scrolling Instagram, and it is, let me see if I got this turned on. It is I think he's a preacher. He's real funny, but he's talking about conflict. And it's a preacher. He can't be that irreverent, right? But it's funny, and it'll kind of, I think, help us move through with some humor, because conflict can kind of make you uncomfortable. So this guy's just talking it real, and I hope it plays because it's so good. I'm going to turn everything up because you can't miss any of it.
So before you say anything, before you do anything, run your words through this filter. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? And is it timely? Is it true? If it's not true, don't say it. There are many people speaking assumptions like they are facts. If you don't know the whole story, shut up. Wait until you find out the whole story. Then ask this question: is it kind? If it's true, but then it's not kind, you have to check your heart. Truth without grace is harsh, but grace without truth is weak. And some of us, we pride ourselves on keeping it real. Well, it's true, I gotta tell them. They need to know. I'm keeping it real. You're keeping it real rude and real reckless and real relationally irresponsible. That's not wisdom, that's immaturity. Is it necessary?
So it's going to start over again. So, yeah, a little humor goes a long way, but many a truth is said in jest, right? You know, I knew somebody was gonna ask me that.
So before you say anything,
So,
before you do anything,
Here's his,
run your
here's his
words through
Instagram
this
handle.
filter. Is it true? Is it
So
kind?
it's
Is it
MR
necessary?
D,
So
come
before
on,
you say
D
anything, before you
A
do
R
anything,
Y
run your words
L
through this filter. Is
Black,
it true? Is it
BLACK.
kind? Is it necessary?
And yeah, it's Mr. Yeah, there you go. See, you put the words right out of my mouth. No, it's good. I was just saying the letters, but you strung them together. And he has a lot of other really great stuff. You know how you fall into a trail. This one popped up, and I'm like, oh, that's good. And then I'm like, oh, I'll hear the next one and the next one. But they're all short and just powerful, and he's funny. So, yeah, don't underestimate the power of humor. It's a great de-stressor as well, and it can help break the ice often. One more test, and I think it's the last thing I'm going to ask you to do. Just pretend like you're a student today. See how your students feel? I'm going to test you one more time and one more time. This is actually fun because it's moving into some actual tools. It's the second one, and it says 9 mutual learning attributes assessment. So this was beginning to bring us into the foundation of, okay, what are some tangible things that I can check in on, giving me common language, checking how I either exhibit or don't exhibit this behavior, and then how by now me knowing might that be a good roadblock to be a better collaborator. So take a couple of minutes and just fill it out. 1 meaning, probably not so great. 5 meaning, yes, I am strong at that. And if you score high, then that means keep doing what you're doing. But know that often we can be triggered, and that's when we sometimes don't do what we would normally do in our right mind. So it's not the challenge of how you show up when everything's great, it's how you show up when things are challenging or high stakes are involved. So this is from a book by Schwartz called Smarter Leaders, Smarter Teams. And I'll send that out also in the post session information. It's a really, really good book. And this is one page that I have dog-eared, and this is the one that I have sitting beside my computer. And the test that you just took kind of gives you common language and some attributes that if you practice them and they're well developed, it should really help you in team dynamics, whether it's conflict or collaboration, but it provides some framework and just like a charter, this is how we've agreed that we're going to show up, and a lot of it is behavioral. If you notice, a lot of it's behavioral. So if we think about how we can get a team working more collaboratively together, in particular working through challenges and stressful dynamics, this gives us some framework for the team to use to help guide the discussion. And without it, everybody's coming into the team with whatever skills they've acquired over the course of their lifetime. And even if it was something that was a good technique or skill or something that they've used in another organization, you need to learn the common language so you can value and appreciate where they're coming from. So this is a really great way to unite a team, and it really doesn't take that much time because we're going to see how it works in just a second. But do we all kind of take the test, and do we agree with, well, I guess you agree with it because you were taking it. But it starts to, like, as you're going through, you're like, whoa, do I do that? Oh, I do that one a lot. Ooh, makes me aware of how important it is. And ooh, I don't do that one at all. I've never even thought about that. But that girl on my team, she definitely doesn't do that one, right? I mean, you can start really thinking about how this comes to life in team dynamics. So this is going to be a dyad exercise, and I would like for you to take a look with your partner. And actually, you know what I'd like to do first? I'd like to frame up and be together as a group. And I would love for somebody else to talk besides me. Who likes to read out loud? And I won't make you read everything, but I need three people that don't mind reading out loud that can see the, or you've got it right in front of you, so you can read it right in front of you. You do it? Will you do me a favor and read the values? And then if you'll do assumptions, did I have another? And if you'll do the behavior. And if you get tired midway through, you can toss it. All right, so who's going to read the mindset version of this graphic?
Right, values, transparency, curiosity, informed choice, accountability, compassion.
And we talked about a little bit of that today. Accountability, probably not as much, but personal accountability and team accountability, right? How do we discuss the undiscussables when somebody's not pulling their weight? How do we assume positive intent, reach out with a hand of compassion to ask clarifying questions to figure out what's going on, and jointly deciding the solution before just flushing somebody, right? You never know what's going on. Now, they could be dropping the ball, but you need to talk about it, and we need to help them get up, or we need to help them get out if it's a long-term behavioral problem, right? Who wants to, or no, I already got a reader for assumptions, right? Yes.
I have information, so do other people. Each of us sees things others don't. People may disagree with me and still have pure motives. Differences are opportunities for learning. I may be contributing to the problem.
I know, isn't it so interesting? It's like, I know that person. If they would just understand my perspective, if they would just slow down and just get it together. And meanwhile, all the while, I might be the problem. But oof, that hurts. That kind of vulnerable. I don't want to be wrong, right? But if we're always right, guess what? That's not mutual understanding. Yeah. So if somebody's right and somebody's wrong, then it's hard to stand on the same side of the table or sit at the same side of the table. Anything resonate with that? Did you have a reaction to one over the other?
People may disagree with me and still have pure motives.
Isn't that amazing? Yeah. I know, it's crazy that I'm assuming positive intent and I'm gonna ask clarifying questions because I need to be clear, because my gut would be your motive might be a little, especially if I don't know you real well, because it takes time to establish trust. So sort of like having that pause to say, okay, I need to check it, you know, yeah. How about the first one? I didn't even ask what the values. Anything on any of those values that really resonate with somebody? It was compassion, transparency, curiosity, informed choice, and accountability. Anything there that's like, that's bullseye. Do we think they're important? Did they seem to ground us in a place that aligns with values? Because that's at the core, right? That's at the heart.
I was going to say accountability, especially if, like, I teach kindergarten, and each of us is in charge of like literacy or skills, and you've got to be ready for your planning, because we're all needing that information.
Yeah.
So I think it's important.
The collaboration.
But just making sure we're doing our part.
Yeah.
One person's doing more.
Yeah. And you know, being able to proactively, great perspective. Like we work in teams, we have to collaborate. If one person is lagging, it's going to affect the whole team. And so how do we set up accountability charters? How do we talk about and align what is your work, like working agreements? Like what are you going to agree to do? Jointly designing deadlines. What kind of resources do you need? What are we going to do if we fall behind? What are you going to do if you get stressed out? I mean, who are you going to reach out to? I mean, really proactively discussing those things on the front end, then there's no surprise. And we've jointly decided it together, so that definitely should make it not a surprise, because we agreed what we would do if somebody got stressed and dropped the ball and wasn't showing up the way they should. And how do we like honor and respectfully help the team rise together? And again, we can help people up, we can help people out. But if they can't step up and there's patterns of behavior over a long period of time, we've got a different challenge. But if we don't start having conversations early and often, especially when we see patterns and tendencies occurring, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different results, right? I mean, that's sort of old school, but very true, very true. And I think that's like conflict. Oh, I don't want that person to feel uncomfortable, or I don't want them to feel called out, or what if they get defensive? You know, so how do you, the only thing you can control is the way you show up. How do you create psychological safety in order to have a conversation with somebody doesn't feel shamed or blamed? Because guess what happens? They're going to shut down. They're going to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. They're going to not do anything that really helps you understand and jointly design together solutions. So how do we help people that don't know how to help themselves without creating codependency? Last but not least, drum roll. Here you go.
Number 1, state views and ask genuine questions. Number 2, share all relevant information. Number 3, use specific examples and agree on what important words mean. Number 4, explain reasoning and intent. Number 5, focus on interest, not positions. Number 6, test assumptions and inferences. Number 7, jointly design next steps. And number 8, discuss undiscussable issues.
Every one of those matter. Every single one of them. And we look to thinking, mindset, foundation. We go to behavior, how am I showing up? And then we go to results. And in this formula, performance is improved, decision making is better, innovation is better, implementation time is shorter when we reduce costs. I want more of that. I want more of that. Working relationships, greater commitment, increased trust, increased learning, reduced defensiveness, productive conflict, appropriate dependency on one another. Individual well-being, increased motivation, increased satisfaction, richer development opportunities, reduced stress. Kind of looks like the outcome we all would want. And so when we function more effectively as a team, all of these things are possible. And they're very measurable. And they're all important. Performance, working relationships, and well-being. So this is the assignment. It's going to be a dyad. So finding a partner. And if you are 5 at your table, then you might just have to break away from your table and find someone else to connect with, because I'd like for you to do this. Recall 2 challenging work or life situations, conversations, one that went well and one that did not. So this is an opportunity for you to think about, in the context of my life, I want to solve a problem that's either happened or is going on right now, and start thinking about it through the lens of the 9 mutual agreement, the attributes. You know, I'd love to have you hang out in what went well all day long, and maybe for a second celebrate that, because you probably did some of the 9 attributes either knowingly or not knowingly, so reflection's powerful. But I want you to sit in the place of conflict and own what you can own, apply some of these concepts and think, okay, I'm in it right now. This could help me quite literally with the conflict I'm dealing with. Or in retrospect, I can look at a conflict that maybe, had I used these, the outcome would have been better. Make sense? Did I miss anything? Yeah, the last one, but we'll ask that last question later. So team up with a partner and bring this to life through a real scenario, and then you'll come back and we'll figure out how to report out in an efficient manner. Is that good? All right, I'm gonna just watch the room. I think at least 10 minutes. But if you start to feel like you've finished and you have nothing left to talk about, we'll come back together as a collective group. Good? All right, think about those parent-teacher conferences. Think about those coworkers that don't align with what you need them to do in order to push the collective forward. Think about that administrative team, those superintendents that just are putting policies and processes in place that don't support the teacher. All right. Can I bring us back to attention for a second? So Barbara wants me to make sure that y'all know that there are drinks and snacks in that back corridor area or corridor foyer that you had lunch. Self-govern that. If you want to scoot back and grab something, take a break for a second, feel free. Let's see. Jill's still back there working her magic fingers. So if you have not been back there, please do. And this is where every year when I do this session, things really get spirited. And I hope that that happens today. And when I say that, is we've been spending time grounding, creating self-awareness, learning things, and in this case, maybe some language and techniques, some behaviors, how I could show up to garner more collaborative conversations, maybe deal with conflict, a little bit more aware of how my tendency is when I show up when things get tough. And we hopefully talked about something real and something that you celebrated. There's this thing called appreciative inquiry. Have you ever heard of that? So it is about pausing first to be grateful for what is and building on the foundation of stability and the place of accomplishment. Because that helps with self-esteem, it helps to drive behavioral change, and it helps to support the path forward. Because I want to drag all that good learning, and if I don't stop and pause and celebrate what I did well, who is going to? And often we do things and we're kind of on autopilot, but it's like, no. You just did something really successful. You exhibited behavior that elevated the conversation and we solved something. Those are big milestones and things to celebrate. What is more powerful than human interaction with another person? And fine-tuning your skills to be better at it so your relationships are better. Your stress is lower, relationships are better, and you get more accomplished. Kind of sounds like the right side of that chart, right? More productivity, more well-being, greater relationships. So those are some great outcomes. So I'd love to have, and we'll stay in this space as long as you want to. I want to really open up the dialogue because you've been sitting with your tables, and this is an opportunity to kind of share back and forth. And I'm going to create some freedom here because I don't like to over-engineer things. And if we want to take some detours and we want to get deeper under some stuff, this is the time to really pull back the curtain and go deep. Is that cool? All right. So I would like for someone at the table, if you were talking in triads, because I saw some triads, and then I did see a lot of dyads. So I would love to hand the mic over and have this group kind of share. And it can be a little bit about what went well. It can be about your observation about yourself or someone else, how this mutual learning guide can be of value to you, how you saw some of your behaviors or how you didn't. So I just want you to kind of bring to life the conversation you were having in a way that would be meaningful for the group, And we'll kind of pass the mic around and we'll see where we are with time, and then we'll keep the floor open if we want to keep diving, and if not, we'll move forward. Good? Framework for where we're headed? Who is brave enough to go first?
I'll go.
Oh, good. I heard it. Where did it happen? Oh, okay.
So basically,
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm going to take just some notes to recap where it makes sense. I want you to do this, and you better.
Okay.
Hey, I got a suggestion for you. It's a recommendation. What do you think? Let's talk about this, right? Don't tell me what to do. I mean, of course, we have to tell people what to do. But the tone and the intention and the words matter, man, they matter. So kudos. Higher pay, discuss the undiscussables. Okay, what research and discovery can I do around salary bands? What's happened before I was here? What are the policies? I mean, get underneath the stuff that would give you insight. We cannot control the uncontrollables, but we can get really educated. And then what might I do to lobby for higher salaries? Well, that sounds like policy work. That sounds like high-level policy work. And I wouldn't want to battle that one alone. So what advocacy groups are out there? Yeah, right. And that's a tough one because finances was green. Y'all remember it's the biggest word on the screen the entire day. And I'm feeling you. I mean, I teach and yeah, unsung heroes. I've said that to a few people today, and you're doing it for the love of it. And it's not because you want to buy 3 extra homes or like high-end sports cars. I'm just saying. So, the love factor, the intrinsic motivation, it's so it's so powerful. It just goes to show how strong and powerful the heart is when you're aligning your time and energy and your talent with something that brings you joy and attaches to your values, and you're doing it for a much greater reason, not just the almighty dollar. And I would say that's probably true across, a lot of education. But we do want to be valued, and we do want to be appreciated, and we do want to be seen. So whatever needs to fill your cup, salary is one of those, but there's other things that can fill you up too. But just be real clear on what's empty and what's really important to you, and ask for what you want. Proactively, with respect, recommendations, very well researched before you come, because that gives you insight as to what you're up against. So again, what do I do before I get there, right? Mindset, research, intentionality, what's my plan? Very much like you said, you're doing reflection, that's where it starts. Talking to other people so you're not going it alone. Yeah, good stuff. So I think we'll probably have 6 or 7 people share. Is this good? All right, anybody got some just juicy conflict you want to just talk about?
I was just say 3 extra homes. I thought about that. Sounds like clutter, which leads to inefficiency. So,
Yes, and stress. I mean, having to keep the
stress.
Yes, all those houses and all that cleaning, and all the taxes, right?
So you were going to buy all this,
Well, cost benefit.
but you decided, okay.
Reframing your thinking. It would be nice, and right, yeah, and there's a lot of responsibility. Yeah. All right, y'all, I'm gonna be calling on somebody. I'm gonna do like this. I'm just gonna end up and just point. So y'all volunteer, will you? I don't like that. Okay, good. Yeah, and asking for the conversation and the time and the place, because timing's everything. Sometimes these more challenging conversations are done really well one-on-one, where the person that you're going to meet with has sort of the intention of the meeting, and the psychological safety begins to happen and say, hey, I really value your opinion. I've been wanting to share mine for a while, but I've just, for some reason, have not had a voice, and I don't know why. But I feel like you would really hear me, and if you would mind sitting down with me, I'd love to share some ideas, and I'd love to hear yours. And I think we're maybe not in complete alignment, but I think that there's more that we could align on by understanding each other better. And I would be so grateful if you would have lunch with me or meet me after school or take a walk and talk. And the one-on-one is less threatening, right? And then, when you're in a team dynamic, it is okay to get allies, right? It's okay to get somebody that believes like you do but doesn't mind having a voice and can champion for it. So finding those allies, and not that we're trying to win or gang up on, we're just trying to make sure the voices are heard so we can collaborate and agree with something that we're mutually, and you always want to keep your eye on what is the end game. Like, what is it at the end that we all are driving for, whether it's better education, better mentorship for the kids, better resources for the kids, better resources for the teachers. Whatever it is find that intrinsic motivation, the why, and the aligned outcome, even though we might take different paths to get there. And that's kind of what happens a lot, is this path is well vetted and researched and evidence-based, and so is this one. And we have it split right down the middle. And it's not either or, it's both and how could we collaborate to the middle without consensus and lowering the bar, but being heard and negotiating for something higher together and better as a result of having had that open dialogue. So,
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
I may have misunderstood, but it almost sounded to me like
The delicate thing about human behavior is it's part art and part science. And so where can we live in fact? Because fact can be put on the table as an anchor. And if there's multiple facts that maybe don't align, that's okay too, because that's a fact. It both works, and then it's a matter of what works best in this situation based on the uniquenesses. And, the art piece is your gut. It is observing and witnessing what is happening. The outcome is happening right there. So it's not like science says X, well, my classroom shows X. I mean, this is happening. So how do you have that conversation where you entertain art and science together? It makes for a fuller conversation. I think anchoring in fact, especially people that get really rigid in their position, is helpful. That's why I'm a big advocate of the research. Know the landscape, know the research, come prepared with very specific recommendations, vetted by here's the why that supports it. And then here's some anecdotal, other schools that are doing it this way. They've seen great results. I mean, and it takes extra time, I know, right? But if something urgent and important, if something's urgent and important, put it in that bullseye, top right-hand corner. You know, not so important, I'll tackle this next year, right? This is a mountain and I'm not ready, I don't have the energy. But this is really impacting me, so I'm going all in, delegate, get your friends involved, your coworkers, delegate, everybody takes a piece, then you're not doing it all by yourself, and delete, because I just can't control the uncontrollables, and I release control. I release control. And so the quadrant kind of can work psychologically to help you guide even what you want to tackle, right? What you want to tackle. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, a couple of more people, this is good. Our common thread in this is the health and safety and well-being of your child. And as teachers, unfortunately, we're not just teaching people skills, but we're teaching them behavior. And guess where they came from? A family of origin and DNA and major life events that has affected that child wherever they are in that moment in time, however old they are. So how can I lean in, assuming positive intent, look at it through the lens of compassion, ask curious questions, and stay open and committed to the truth and to the process forward, and keep coming back to the health and safety and well-being of the child. And my oath as a teacher is to teach the whole person. And sometimes the parents come with them, right? And so how do you, I know. You're like, we were fine until you showed up. No, but I mean, it's a unit, it's a family unit. And this asset, the child, is the most important thing to that parent. You talk about high stakes and high risk and big triggers and big barriers, big chasms, talk about something that's going to split and divide. You say that my child, I mean, and I know that you didn't say it that way because it would have ended very differently, right? So how can I have curiosity, compassion, respect, even if things are rocky? Because if I slip and match the behavior of the lowest common denominator, it sinks the ship. So sometimes we have to take the high road. Using the mutual learning, yes, please. And you think about it, the consistency showed your heart, it showed your dedication, and guess what that does? It builds trust. Psychological safety. Okay, now I can let go of the vice grip of my child's arm or hand and surrender to you because I trust you. And some people are really fast trusters. There's so many tests we could have taken today, y'all. There's a test for everything. But I mean, some people, like, you know, my grandmother would meet a complete stranger and we go to a restaurant and she'd sit at the next table talking to everybody. I'm like, Grandma? I mean, it just, and then some people are like introverted or skeptical. Nothing wrong with that at all. We're just wired very differently. And so knowing that you might have to work a little harder to build the trust, especially if somebody's had trauma or they've had a family of origin or something that's happened that has caused them to shut down. So how can we have compassion for a story that we don't know? We have to. Because somebody could look all good and fine on the outside and all kinds of stuff could be going on. So if we can't meet people with grace and kindness and curiosity, we won't have a chance to build trust, ever, ever. And sometimes we have to take the higher road. And you know when things get elevated and patterns develop, and sometimes you just have to tap out and take it to a higher source and trust yourself when you can't solve it by yourself. I mean, sometimes you do need to call in the cavalry. But that's a great story because I know that we've all had a troubled, you know, kindergarten or teen, and they're just going through life and doing the best they can, and good days and bad days. And, you know, I didn't sign up for this. I was here to teach you history or arithmetic, not how to behave in the classroom and stop pinching people or, bullying people. I mean, so there's a lot. It's a lot. So the more aware we are of self-awareness and self-regulation, and we're pretty educated and probably pretty evolved, not everybody shows up like that in our classrooms. So what can we do to model that behavior, teach that behavior alongside of arithmetic and history and all the other things we do? And then how can I try to, when I talk to the parents, what kind of charter could we develop? How could I use these attributes to give us common language? Because everybody comes from where they came from, and not everybody knows how to behave, right? Not our job to tell them, but we can certainly model the behavior and use a few tools that might actually help us have a better outcome, because we're creating psychological safety for them. Good stuff? I just want to make sure. All right, one more story. While we're living in the land of conflict and collaboration. What if I hold my breath and I will pass out until somebody somebody's got a story, and you're going to tell it, and it's going to resonate, and you're going to have solved somebody's problem. Yeah, thank you. And those words, I wrote the word vision down, is sharing the goals, but also the vision. And sometimes vision is very aspirational, and you can kind of move somebody, right? It's not like a SMART goal. It's what's the vision that the SMART goal is going to help us get to? And in talking about the vision, right? Let's imagine it together, right? And my perspective might be very different, or my assumption of what we're trying to vision might be very different. So let's talk about the assumptions associated with whatever the goal or vision is. I don't want to assume that that's your vision. I want to hear what your vision really is. And I think I might know what yours is, but I better check myself. I want to find out for sure. Will you bring to life? Because we just can sometimes sit back, and especially if we pigeonhole people, right? We categorize them, and that's the person that's always this way and that way. Boy, it's called confirmatory bias. Have y'all ever heard of that word? What we believe that we're going to find or see is what we find and see, right? So if we believe somebody to be a certain way, or we assume that their behavior is going to be what it normally is, we will see it all day long. We will confirm our bias all day long, because we want to be right. At the end of the day, we want to sit in a truth that feels really comfortable, safe. Yeah, this is familiar, good. But, somebody's going to challenge that. They're going to poke at that a little bit. That's a little uncomfortable. I might have to rethink that. I might have to broaden my perspective. I might have to even rub up against my moral compass a little bit on this one. So it's not for the weak of heart, right? But assumptions can be really dangerous. And when we pause the assumptions to include our own, and I love the fact that you said that, it can be so powerful. Because when we can exhale and just open up and fully hear and be present, not be ready and posturing for what we're going to say or what we're going to lobby our agenda for, it's amazing what you'll hear. And if you keep coming back to the centerpiece of what is your vision, what are our goals, what is the common good, what are we aiming for, and how can we use the collective awareness of all of us to get there faster and better as a result of having leveraged each other's skills and talents and perspectives. So, good stuff. Thanks. See, you shared, and that gave us a whole nother way to think about our own assumptions. Yeah. So, how are we feeling? Do we need a break? You want a 10-minute break? 10-minute break? Okay. And remember, drinks, I would venture to say snacks, which might include cookies, I'm not sure, but something back there that will help fuel you. 10 minutes, I'll put my little timer on. Okay. I think we're all kind of moving our way back in. So if we put into awareness some of the stuff we've been talking about today, is this day has had a rhythm to it, right? Some of the stuff really fed you. Some of the tough stuff maybe made you a little tired. The reality is sometimes we do great things that we like doing and we still get tired, right? Because the capacity to hold focus, concentration, competing agendas, things that might be happening at work or at home. I mean, it all takes energy and time, whether you're there or not, if you're allowing your mind to ruminate about things that are happening outside of this moment. So we've taken some energy breaks, right? I went outside, I was cold, and I'm recharged now, I'm ready to rock and roll. And I went back to get a cookie and there weren't any. And so Barbara, she did not create conflict. She assumed positive intent. She said, I know we were supposed to have cookies. And she went out there and she said, sir, I think I'm supposed to have cookies, right? So nice. There was no conflict and it got out here real fast. So she said she's learning and she's applying the techniques immediately. And y'all got cookies, win-win, right? So, and there's other things back there too, drinks and coffee. So, all right, so where are we on this journey? We are like, I don't know, 75% home. We will end on time. I'm going to end with something that I think will be a nice way to ground the whole day for us collectively and you as an individual. The landscape that we've been through was me, about me, putting oxygen mask on me, awareness of how I feel, what I need, and then we started like easing into this thing called group dynamics, and unless you're on a stranded island by yourself, we are in group dynamics as a dyad, triad, large group, microcosms of groups within groups. I mean, some companies have 450,000 employees, y'all. That you talk about group dynamics needing to be really good for the whole company to move in the same direction. So this group dynamic work is important, and guess who it starts with? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're part of the team. And what happens, like, in the team happens to the team. Have you ever had a team that was humming and you introduced a new person and you're like, uh-oh, here comes that personality. Assume positive intent, seek mutual understanding, create a charter, and provide common language. Here's the behavior you need to show up, right? So we can help socialize somebody into the group in a really strategic way. And we could do that probably in other areas of our lives if we so choose to do it. And guess what? It's hard, it takes time, but it's worth it. The small amount of time to onboard someone or integrate them in, whatever words you want to use, are far less disruptive as a rotten apple in the middle of a beautiful basket of apples, right? Because guess what gets rotten? The whole batch if we don't deal with a systemic issue. And it might be slow and painful, but it'll all rot. And I say that as an analogy because if we could just help that bruised little apple come into this group and just help hug them in and give them some common language and really make that an intentional part of their journey, won't we be more successful long term? Highly more functioning, more productive, the stress down, the well-being better, the relationships are better, and that sits at the center of it. So I kind of use some funny analogies, but it really does beg the question, how do we introduce people to a team? And you now being educated, right, and having some common language, and you're already educated, but maybe today having a little bit more awareness around behaviors, right? How might you enter the next team recognizing how important some of these things are? Yeah. So we all kind of create a course that has a wake. We create a course that has a wake, and that wake shows up in the form of our behavior, in our energy, attitudes, the way we live our lives. And so a lot of y'all wanted to show up the best version of yourself. That was big in this group, is how might I be the best version of myself? So I feel like we're sort of accomplishing some things around those themes. Awesome. All right. Anything that we have gone over from the beginning to this point in time, from the me to we, that you want clarity on, you want to know about the resources, you want to talk about it more. I just want to make sure we don't leave the runway having anything left that needs to be unpacked. But we're good. Good? Okay. Are you going to apply some of this stuff? Yes. See, that's the pause process plan. And see, y'all are already saying you're going to pivot, so that's Excellent, 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 excellent. So this next session, it may feel a teeny tiny bit redundant, but how do we learn things? Repetition and also hearing things in a slightly different way through different filters. Maybe the same way words, but slightly differently positioned. So I promised that we would talk about a resiliency. So anybody want to tell me what the word resiliency means to you? Don't get sleepy on me now. I know y'all just ate and stuff, but anybody got an idea of the word resiliency? The ability to withstand. To persevere.
Ability to overcome obstacles.
The ability to overcome obstacles. Keep showing up. Those are all good, and those are all right. Resiliency does not try to carry the boulder up the hill by themselves. Resiliency has a lot of compassion for themselves. Resiliency definitely shows up, but resiliency looks at life through the lens of just because I can doesn't mean I should all the time. Resiliency doesn't take full ownership of trying to push through the challenge. Resiliency requires reaching out for help, trusting other people to help you through the process. Would we believe all that? So sometimes resiliency has the ability to snap back rather than break because they've done all the things I just said. So when we go it alone, we push to the edge, we don't pause, we don't reach out, we don't reset ourselves. That's not resiliency, right? Resiliency requires a lot of personal ownership of self-care and self-awareness. So I think that's where we are. 8 resilient traits that intersect and reinforce everything that we've talked about today. Are y'all ready to zip through them? Some of it's going to be similar, but I hope there will be some new nuanced things that you glean from the way we're going to talk through things. So, the benefit of being resilient, demonstrating some of the things I just talked about, and we'll unpack it more, is this is sort of the profile of a resilient person. And if you kind of look at the blocks without getting overwhelmed and just see where your eye lands, but I don't know about you, but I want to be resilient because I want all of that. I want all of that. Kind of looks like a lot of the behavior that we've been talking about all day. So if you are truly a resilient person and you live a resilient life, which starts with self-awareness and self-care, and you do a lot of the things that we've been talking about today, your energy is going to be good enough to be resilient because you have to have energy to be resilient. Anything surprise you up there? Not really? So it's stacked. That's a hefty list that makes me want to practice these traits, that's for sure. So we're going to unpack them one at a time. So self-awareness, this is where it comes into play, the redundancy. But if we don't for a minute think that resiliency is not at the centerpiece of, or that self-awareness is not at the centerpiece, then we probably need to rethink it. We've seen some of these things today, taking inventory, self-reflection, asking powerful questions, checking in, breathing. Self-regulation. Identifying your triggers. We talked a little bit about triggers. We talked about the fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. But what if you were to go to the balcony and really think about what really triggers me? Like really land in that place with some compassion and look at what your patterns are. And not just what the pattern of behavior is, but what is triggering it. What's happening before, what's happening during the trigger. And then you're like, okay, I recognize that pattern. Well, what could you do proactively to perhaps help you not trigger? Well, getting sleep is one. Has anybody ever been impatient with somebody else because you're not getting sleep? Yeah? I mean, so you think about, when do I tend to not show up the best version of myself? And don't look at it through the lens of criticism, shame, blame, or any of those things that don't move us into a positive space, but let me just have some compassion and see what did trigger me, what really got to me, and have some compassion in solving that. A lot of that stuff's familiar because I'm threading stuff forward that we've already talked about. Being patient with yourself and others. Self-care, make yourself a priority. Do the things that make you happy. Fill your energy bucket up. I love this, spend time with people you love, doing the things that you love, right? Move your body, feel your body, rest your body, maintain your body. What is ideal for you? Barbara and I were talking, and I said, Barbara, I'd love to work out about 3 hours a day. She said, good Lord, I don't. And I really don't work out 3 hours a day. It's like 30 minutes. But, know what you like and do more of that. And find the people that like to do that stuff with you, because the buddy system is really powerful for accountability. And who wants to go run a 10-mile jog without somebody to talk to and celebrate the victory with? I haven't run since I was 30 years old. I have no cartilage in my left knee, nada, since I was 16. So overcoming some obstacles, but we can figure it out. I do not want to be the bionic woman yet, because I need for them to do the surgery that goes like this. Zit, your knee's been replaced. I am waiting for it. I am waiting for it. I am waiting for that day. I'm going to hold out. So emotional expression, we haven't talked about this a lot, but we probably touched on it. How can I have a voice? We did when we were talking about conflict. I think this really courageous young woman right here talked about it, right? I want to find my voice. Notice how the emotions are showing up in your body. Name it, claim it. Process and express your feelings. Be patient, have compassion. That keeps coming up, right? Keeps coming up. Has anybody heard of the emotional wheel? I'll send that out too. It's kind of cool. I mentioned it a couple of times today, and I'll send it because then it'll make a little bit more sense. But, we have this wheel that has a myriad of emotions, and sometimes we get caught in vanilla and chocolate. And ooh, you're missing Rocket Road, you're missing sorbets in there. There is a lot of emotion. The only way we can deal with our emotions is if we identify them, feel them, and then have this compassion to sort of move through it. And also to know that we don't have to do that by ourselves. We do not have to do it by ourselves. But you can't fix what you can't feel. Self-supportive, be aware of your inner critic. That saboteur, oh yeah, they'll show up. This positive self-talk, going back to Marcus Aurelius, the thoughts have tremendous power, tremendous. Suspend judgment and change thought patterns. We have not talked about this, and I had a side conversation with somebody about neuropathways. So we know that we have capacity to learn and grow. If anybody knows it, you guys do. It's the profession that you're in. So having a growth mindset, recognizing patterns that aren't well developed, and then having the courage and the desire and the motivation, right, to change behavior is going to require work. But once we do the work over and over and over again, we are literally rewiring our brains. Our neuropathways are changing. So if there's a pattern that you have, and maybe it's a genetic pattern, right, neurodivergent, maybe it is some anger issues that are unresolved, maybe you're that person that shows up late. There's a lot of different ways in which we show up that have very different reasons. But if we're aware of them and we want to change them, we have to come up with a plan, and we have to work the plan over and over and over again. And we will develop new habits. Habits turn into behavior, and behavior defines who you are. And it's that simple, but it's also that hard, right? But if we know where we are and where we want to go, and we're committed, we can literally change our chemical makeup. Isn't that just so fabulous? I mean, that we have that much control over what we might be able to accomplish. Holding to truths. I am so exhausted. If I have to grade another paper, I'm going to lose my mind. But I'm a teacher, and I believe in what I'm doing. And I've done this in the past, and all I need to do is pace myself. Urgent and important. It'll be there tomorrow. Maybe I can ask for help. So how might I have a narrative in my head that creates more possibility? That honors and values that, yes, I am exhausted. Don't run past that person that's exhausted. Own it, honor her or him, and then go, okay, what and how can I solve this? Because I've done it in the past. Make sense? All right. Optimism. Don't ignore challenges, but lean into hope. Develop a bias of positive thinking, assuming positive intent. Visualize and verbalize positive outcomes. Confirmatory bias, I talked about that earlier. Celebrating your victories. Not just yours, right? Other people's. And the team's victory, right? Because everybody's part of the process. And, don't wait for a massive victory, right? Then you'll develop performance-driven children, right? Recognize the small things, often and always, right? And same thing as teachers. The A doesn't mean you're going to get your attaboy and a high five. Maybe somebody went from a C to a C+. That's a victory. That's a victory. And treat yourself the same way, right? The same way. Visualize the outcomes. We have not done visualization here today, but do you mind if I talk about it for a second? Because it's pretty powerful. Most athletes, or you think about it, Olympic level athletes, spend 50% of their time visualizing. Visualizing. The body cannot take the wear and tear of that intense level of training to become an elite athlete and win a gold medal or a silver medal or just get to the Olympics. So the ability to close your eyes and literally visualize yourself having that conversation that's going to be difficult and seeing it through the bumps and visualizing the positive outcome is incredibly powerful. Incredibly powerful. A lot of if you talk to a downhill skier, and I've actually interviewed some high-level athletes, and they talk about visualizing. They will literally put themselves at the top of the slalom, and they will visualize every single solitary twist and turn to the bottom. Every mogul, everything that they would encounter on the course, they're visualizing inside. So this visualization is pretty powerful. It does fuel outcomes. We get there faster. It builds confidence because it's hard to believe something that we can't see. So if we can visualize and see it in our own minds, we've already been there. We've already done it. It is really, really powerful. Does anybody use visualization a little bit in your life? A little bit? Hearing that, does that sort of motivate you to kind of think? I mean, if you do a little bit of research, you'll be inspired. I don't have a data slide up there, but the research is pretty powerful behind it. You do a little bit? I saw you shaking.
I teach cosmetology, and so I have to teach my students they can't do it if they can't see it.
She teaches cosmetology, and she teaches her students that they can't see it. How are they going to do it? So the ability to visualize the end game does build confidence, and it's certainly, and you find your blind spots too when you're visualizing. I'll share this. I dance, and I have since I was little, and I do ballroom dancing now. And because of my bum knee that you heard me talk about, I can't dance 2 hours a day to get ready for a competition, so I visualize 50% of the time. And when I close my eyes, I visualize every single solitary step in that dance, where my body is, where the movement is, where the music is. And I hit blind spots. I'm like, oh, smack. I don't know where my arm goes there, or I don't know where my leg goes there. And that's good acknowledgement and recognition because it's a blind spot. We talked about blind spots. That's a spot in the choreography that I need to focus on because I can't see it. And if I can't see it, I can't feel it, I can't do it. So it's kind of crazy, right? Kind of crazy. But try a little visualization. If you're trying to manifest something into your life, visualize it. Start talking like Tony Robbins. But there is the power of manifestation, right? Mm-hmm. Where energy goes, right, attention flows. And what we focus on often is what comes to be. Fact check your story, check assumptions. Buddy, have y'all ever been in your own head and you have just created this story about yourself? And you're like, what in the world was I thinking? How did I run down this dark path? I need to go check my own assumptions because the story I just told myself may not be true. And this one's a bad story, so I hope it's not true. So it's kind of crazy what we can tell ourselves and the stories that we can write in our own head. And it's almost like reflect on your own narrative. Is it true? I need to challenge myself. I mean, I'll gladly challenge you, but it needs to start here first, right? But I'll challenge you in the nicest way possible. Okay, support system or self-support. Be aware. Wait, I went backwards again, y'all. I am going to get this right before the end of the day. We did this. Yes, we did. Okay, support system. I knew it. So cultivate your support system. Don't view needing help as weakness. Delegate, ask for help, and know when to call on the Calvary. And I've used that term a lot today. You'll hear me repeat myself, but there's certain things that I want you to go home and you go, Terry said that this thing about calling the Calvary, well, she's right. I'm going to pick up the phone and call my girlfriend, and I might need to call 9 of them because I really need some backup on this. Perspective, right? Emotional support. Hope. Hope doesn't have to always come from inside yourself. Hope can come from faith. It can come from friends. It can come from coworkers. Sense of purpose, last but not least. This group, I think, has a pretty purpose-driven agenda. And I say that, it's an assumption, but you're school teachers. You've chosen a path. And I bet it's because you're intrinsically motivated to give back and to help, to support, to nurture, to empower, to inspire, to teach, right? To make the place a better world because you put your fingerprints on somebody that can go out there and do the work. Do the work. That's inspiring. That's very inspiring. So we examine what gives our life meaning. We align it with our values and our purpose. We use our gifts to make a difference. And we connect to something bigger than ourselves. Great things get accomplished when we align and we do this work called sense of purpose. Sense of purpose. So I kind of put that back up because I do think we'd have to do the job, right? But how can we do it for a bigger purpose? Lighting up the world to make a difference. So, which resiliency traits do you want to work on? So this is back to your action plan. And I would challenge you to think about maybe what you already do, landing that place of positive inquiry. Because I bet you're already doing some of the things that I've discussed, and we've clearly done quite literally some of them today. And was there anything that really resonated with you in terms of, that was a zinger. That's one that I do know is a runaway train and probably could use some TLC, some work, some compassion. And so just take a quick minute just to write something down, because you know when you think it, that's one thing, but when you write it down, you're committing to it. It puts it in motion, and then you can put a plan around it. We visualize it, and then we take action to make it come true. So sometimes the naming and claiming and saying out loud and writing it down, just the act of doing all that really does help propel the plan forward. Oh, this is my favorite part. Well, I shouldn't say that. A lot's my favorite part, but this is like the culmination. We're getting close to the end. Are y'all feeling like you're full? Getting close to 4 o'clock? But I'm going to make sure we're not rushing, because, you know, a lot of times I'll take it to just right to the edge. I'm like, why do I do that? Why do we have to fill every minute and every moment up? What if we ended 5 minutes early? Holy smokes, right? What if there was some conversation that if we don't leave space for, we'd never be able to have it? It may be the culmination of the day. It might be the best conversation we could have had, but we didn't have time for it. We're shoving every single thing in every minute. So I'm getting better at that, y'all. Did y'all write your thing down? Okay, all right, just checking. So in your group, y'all, I feel like I would like for y'all to meet other people, but hopefully y'all have met each other when you've been out in the back and eating lunch, because I couldn't figure out a real easy way to spin y'all up every time. I thought that'll create so much operational disruption time, so I thought I'll keep it simple. So just make sure you meet somebody at another table before you leave today. Is that cool? All right. Because I feel like I haven't really helped to create inclusion. I've sort of put y'all in these little microcosms, but I'm sorry. So in your microcosm group again, I would like for everybody to pick one of these that really resonate. We have 2 slides, this one and this one. So we're gonna do it twice. And this is like a mantra. Have you ever heard of mantras? Like something you can run in your head over and over and over again and it sticks with you. And when you get triggered or you get off compass or life gets out of balance, you can come back to this mantra and it helps to put you back on course. All of these are probably decent mantras, but pick one that really resonates for you. And I want you to sort of talk to your group about it for like 2 or 3 minutes. Is that cool? Putting voice to the one you chose? All right. Have you chose yours yet? There's a lot to choose from, I know. Don't be overwhelmed. Pick the one that most resonates. There's no wrong answer, right? All right. So now will y'all talk for 2 or 3 minutes about it? And we're going to do this twice. Twice.
It's a support system.
Uh-oh, I might need to get something louder. With this group?
My college age daughter is yeah.
All right, we're going to leave at 4:15. Just saying. No, I'm kidding. So mantras are kind of anchors. And when we can anchor our thoughts around something, that's pretty powerful. And over the years, maybe like 8, I've been doing these types of facilitation engagements, and this is probably one of my favorite things that I get to do on the planet. And I do a lot of things that bring me joy. This lights me up because I get to do it with you. And it's the collaboration that really creates the excitement for me because I love to see people light up. I really do. And that word mudita that I shared, it's true. When I see somebody smile or have an aha moment, or you feel like you might have provided just something that somebody can take and make their own, and maybe even make it better, like that's a beautiful thing to do. And I know that a lot of you can relate to that because you're teachers. So these are like isms, like Terry isms that I've come up with over the years. And some of them I've sort of borrowed and tweaked because some of them might look kind of familiar. But there's one more challenge. And it's not really a challenge, it's an opportunity. Is you got to pick one on the first page. And you kind of talked about it. Was that fun to just sort of talk about it? Yeah. I know it was kind of like, oh, you picked that one or I picked that one. Kind of share perspective. And I heard you talking about the one about play every day. Right? Laugh and play. We got to take off our adult-sized seriousness sometimes, that we just forget as adults that somehow we don't have this luxury to laugh and play. And buddy, let that child out, right? Find some joy, giggle. I don't know about you, but I want to be able to roll on the floor with puppies and little children and giggle for the rest of my life, So anybody want to share everybody's going to be encouraged to share the one that you like the very, very best. So maybe what I'll do is we see this list. So we're not going to go back to this page. We're about to be avalanched with more of the same. So if I go in the right direction, oh, look, I'm learning. This is your second list. And so now you get to, if you would like, have the opportunity to choose a second one. Or, well, you can pick 2, right? Or you can go, oh, I like the one on the first page, but I like this second page, this one better. Not that you don't like the other one, but, ooh, if I could pick just one, which one would it be? And that's what you're all going to share as a group collectively. Is that good? You can say pass if you want to, but I hope that you'll share because you'll hear what really resonated for each other in the form of a mantra. And you'll find common ground. Some of you might pick the same one, but we'll also find how diverse we are too in the same regard.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What is the 5 P for philosophy?
Glad you asked. See, clarifying questions. That's the pause, process, plan, pivot, and proceed that I talked about at the very beginning. Sort of some framework for learning because we've paused. Very good question. We processed a lot today. And we're planning. We've actually got an action plan. Some of y'all have written some ideas down. And the pivot is taking action. I asked if y'all were going to take some action. I did see people, doing like this. And so that's the intention, is to just invite change in by creating a structure to get there. Everything else pretty self-explanatory. Some of them are simple, be patient, but boy, that was hard sometimes, right? I know. So y'all ready to share out? And I hate to say this, but if you feel called to add a little narrative, you can. But if there's 30 people in here and everybody talks for a minute, that's 30 minutes, and that'll put us over time. So this is the deep and brief, but I don't want to just say what you picked and then cut it off. So if there's something that you do feel called to share in association with what you picked, I want to hold some space for that. Good? All right, and I'm literally going to start over here, and I'm just going to have you guys pass the microphone around, and we'll just kind of weave it through the group. Is that good? All right. Permission granted. Who wants to start at this table? Oh, thank y'all.
I chose do more of what you love with the people you love because it's easy to find joy in that.
Yeah.
And then to always try to ground yourself in gratitude because there's always something to be thankful for.
Yeah, amen. That was like 5 seconds, y'all. Yes.
I chose manage your time and energy with intention and notice what is in or out of balance.
Yeah, nice.
I chose self-care, making sure I take that walk every day or something. Self-care, I need that, and leave school. And ground in gratitude as well.
Yeah. It's interesting. A self-care appointment. Like we make appointments all day long on our schedule. Maybe that me time, schedule it, block it, put a boundary around it, do it, right? Commit to it. And putting it on your calendar is a way to start.
I chose focus on progress, not perfection. And I love grounding gratitude. I actually have the class mantra is gratitude. My last name is Gratitude. So I try to teach to my students, and it's beautiful.
Nice. Thank you. Y'all, I don't know if you're just picking off of this slide, but you can go retrospect. If there was something on the other slide that you liked as well, feel free to share either or both.
I think staying open to new possibilities. I love teaching because it's a clear beginning every year and an end every year, but just staying open to new possibilities for this coming year.
Nice. You can just pass it. Thanks.
I chose support system and ground in gratitude. And if you've never heard, there's an app called Gratitude Plus, and you can make a group of your friends and share your gratitude each day.
Aw. Gratitude Plus, and it's an app. Very cool. Thank you for sharing.
I chose laugh and play. I don't remember, try laugh and play or something along those lines.
Laugh and play every day.
Laugh and play every day. And I think, I teach my students for 90 minutes, we have hour and a half blocks. And I just feel like I should definitely be able to find a couple minutes of those 90 to have, some fun with the kids.
Yeah, nice. I'll go back to the other slide in case you liked something there and it left your brain. There it is, flashing back up. Where did it? Aha, you got it? Excellent, excellent.
I went with attention to self-care, and then I forgot what it was exactly, but maintaining that balance, so noticing in and out of balance.
Take an inventory. Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
I agree 100% with David. Only my classes are only 60 minutes. Aside from that, laugh and play every day.
Yeah.
Let's see, focus on progress, not perfection. And what did I write? Know what your ideal being means to you. What do you want?
Yeah.
I chose notice my internal dialogue and make it positive. And I chose technology timeout.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're gonna be a critic, be a good one, right? Write yourself a good review. Speaking of, have you seen Jurassic Park? Y'all, it is so good. Y'all know there's been like 5 of them, right? This one is so good. Usually the 5th one, you're like, no way. Like Jaws, it just kept getting worse and worse. I mean, this is so good, right? It's the 50th anniversary of Jaws. And I'm just getting off on a tangent, but writing a review, I write a good one. Do y'all know about 3D movies now? What's that? The 4D. That's what I was talking about. The 4D. Do y'all know about it? I just learned about it. So you go to the movie theater. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Is you sit and the chair shakes and you hear the smell and the water drips and the fog comes in and you hear them feel the wind. I mean, y'all, can you imagine? And then of course you got the 3D glasses on, so you're just like. In Jurassic Park, there are the T-Rex is coming at you hard, right? So yeah, so be open to new possibilities. If you want to play and laugh, take your friends, do something that brings you joy. It is a Disney ride on steroids, right? Okay, sorry. That was a squirrel moment, but I just wanted to be playful for a second. No.
The one I chose was Technology Timeout. I deleted my social media in December and January, and it was a beautiful start to my year.
Nice. All that time you got back.
And then I saw one that was on the earlier slide.
Here, you mean put it.
Mindful.
Wait,
I can't. Make your kidney they're mindful, but it was listen to your intuition was a big one for me because that was really opened up for me in the last couple of years. It is possible to increase your intuition very much so. Yeah. Through concentration, meditation. Yeah. And it's right every time. Yeah. It's just right on every time.
Trust your gut.
And then the second one was the gratitude, grounding in gratitude.
Yeah.
Progress, not perfection. I'll leave it at that.
I'm a recovered perfectionist. No.
The importance of self-care, and it goes in with the rest and recharge.
Yeah.
So I feel like summer really kind of puts in perspective how terrible the school year is as far as like how much I hold on to as far as stress. Like I don't realize it until summer comes, and I'm like, oh, you were like dying for those 10 months. Wow. And I feel like in the summer it's like I'm my healthiest, my lightest as far as like weight and like what I'm carrying around, not physical pounds, but like just head space, just mind space, yeah, and it just made me realize that like the time that I have in the summer to be more active. So what I'm going for here is this feel your body and move it. And I'm like, this is what you need to be doing during the school year because I'm so happy in the summer when I get to be able to do that. And I realize it's a way to decompress. And so I've been thinking like, you always say you have no time, that's why you can't do it. So then when you threw up the one that said time out for tech, I also realized during the school year, that's kind of how I found myself decompressing. It was like taking myself away from reality, and I'm going to go down the rabbit hole of like other people's lives or funny videos, and maybe that's not the right way now to decompress, and now I can do it more feel your body. So feel your body and time out tech.
I love that. That's wonderful. The thing about chronic stress, y'all, is if you've ever like, I don't know, put something on and it's heavy, but you've been carrying it so long you forget about it. And then when you take it off, you're like, whoa, I just got light. And I was thinking about that when you were talking about when you got out of the school year, you all of a sudden felt lighter. That's something to pay attention to because you were so fatigued that you didn't even notice that you were fatigued. And that's a dangerous place to be, not to be scary. It's worth paying attention to because that's not something that we can sustain long term. So to take it off, to recognize it's off and figure out, I gotta put it back on, I gotta go back to school, but maybe I can put it on differently. I'll wear half the jacket, not the whole jacket or something, right?
I picked let go of what you can't control and also ground yourself in gratitude.
We got a grateful group here. This is good.
I picked Embrace Change by Adapting, and something I need to be doing at work. And then I chose Notice What's in in and out of the
Balance, yeah.
I chose make yourself a priority and watch ruminating thoughts.
I chose get sufficient rest and regain energy so I can recharge myself physically, emotionally, and mentally.
I have to give a shout out to focus on what you can control and adopt a growth mindset, because I just wanted to mention those are important. But my two favorite for me are know your triggers and develop healthy self-regulation skills. I think that can be an umbrella for a lot of the other things we talked about.
Yeah,
for
yeah.
Self-regulation. But as I was sharing with our table, because if I don't do those, I can be like a runaway train. And I'm like, how did I get here? And then I have to go back and I realize what
Right, yeah. The wake behind, yeah, yeah.
I chose notice your internal dialogue and make it positive, along with manage my time and energy with intention.
Nice, thank you. Here we go for the roundup.
I chose grounding gratitude because when you are stressed, to think of your blessings helps reduce that stress and also helps realizing that sometimes you stress over things that are not really important.
Yeah.
I'm reading your name upside down, but is it Krista?
Yes.
I'm right there with Krista.
Ditto.
I've been telling my group all day, I have been like walking more, doing these things, and like any heightened emotion that I feel, I've been like, okay, go for a walk. So, yeah.
Change perspective, right?
I chose saying no and having healthy boundaries. That's just my biggest weakness is not being able to say no and just taking on everything and feeling like I have to solve it myself.
And see, I would say your greatest opportunity, right? Your greatest opportunity. Because we can strengthen those things that are less well developed. And the acknowledgement of it and the desire. And we can do with a plan and intention, and you know why, that intrinsic why. So good luck on your journey saying no. Could anybody use a little journey of no?
Oh, yes.
So I started off with the develop a bias for positive thinking, and then there's finding the positive, and I wrote finding the positive in everything, everyone, and you keep saying that everybody has a positive intent.
Yeah, assume positive intent, yeah.
Positive intent, and then I saw that show compassion for yourself and others, and that one really made me realize that it's this positive thinking that even if I don't automatically have that positive thinking, I still need to show growth or am showing growth, and so I need to show compassion for myself even if I stumble with that positive thinking idea.
Yeah, so nice. So it's interesting because we get to land on something that we can hold and we can speak. And there was so much material and things that we covered today. And I love this exercise at the end because this is sort of a smash up of tidbits that we talked about all day. And it gives you a chance to sort of assimilate all of it and go, aha, that's the one I'm taking home. That's the one I'm willing to take action on. Or that's the one that is less well developed and that would have great impact on me if I were to pay attention to it. We also heard there was common denominators, right? That's the other thing, is hearing what other people are thinking. Gratitude. There was a lot of people that grounded in gratitude. And then we heard uniquenesses. They were all like different, and that's where the ideal being is so important. I'm not a replica of the person sitting next to me. I'm my unique being, and what's ideal for me may not be ideal for them. But probably knowing what is ideal and hers or his would make us stronger together. So this was good? Yeah. All right, let me see what else is happening here. Am I going forward or backward? Okay, what is your biggest takeaway? What are you motivated to take action on and why? That is on your action plan. Process that for a second. You've probably been writing things down all day long. Hopefully you'll take your notes home with you and find that me time so that you can go back and take a look at the good stuff and maybe the highlighted stuff, right? Because this is a lot of information to go back through a second time, but maybe there's some stuff that you flag that are worth a second visit. So your action plan is a tangible document. I think we can make sacred contracts with ourselves, and just to not throw this in the trash or put it in a drawer, maybe challenge yourself to keep it out so you can see it for maybe at least a week. And you can kind of, maybe after the weekend's gone and you go through a week of school, or not school yet, right? And we can kind of reflect on, because reflection's pretty cool. Let's try some of this on. Let's work on some of the things that were important. And then let's check in and see how it's going, right? Taking inventory. Oh, no, can't show that one yet. All right. Barbara, how much time do I need to leave you?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. Oh, yay. All right, so much like we started, I am going to invite you to practice again receiving and making yourself a priority and pausing on the back end of a journey. So we kind of had intentionality moving into it, we got grounded. So now we get to ground in gratitude. What did I learn? What did I experience? How did it make me feel? Where might I be motivated to take action because my life matters? So the invitation would be for you to close your eyes again and just begin to find your breath. And if you're more comfortable with your eyes closed, that's completely, or open with your eyes cast down, that's fine. Just whatever allows you to get settled. Breathing in and breathing out. Feeling the rhythm of your own breath. And I'm just going to walk away from the mic and turn it off so that you can begin to just feel what you are experiencing inside of yourself. Breathing in and breathing out. Just acknowledging what you are experiencing in this moment, not changing it, but just embracing it. And if the mind gets distracted, just don't meet that distraction with judgment. Just honor the fact that you have a creative mind. Deep breathing in and out. So as caregivers, we give a lot. So how in this moment can you be present, checking out to check in, to just notice energetically how you're feeling at this moment, maybe in comparison to the beginning of the day? So these intentional pauses, just allowing yourself to recognize where you are.
Battery 40%. Connected to iPhone.
Just begin to bring your hands to your heart, palms open. Breathing in, feeling the rise and fall of the chest. And just notice what you feel. Opening up your mind and your heart. And just listening, feeling the information. Maybe there was something today that you needed to hear, you needed to talk about. But most important, something that you need to do. So change is not easy, but it is so worth it. So change requires being open-minded and awake to new possibilities, to have the capacity to see beyond what is obvious, and the desire and courage to walk into the unknown. Change requires letting go of the familiar, stepping beyond what is comfortable, and trusting yourself and the process. So maybe there was something that you connected to deeply today. Something that you're willing to pivot because you know it'll change your life. Leaning into what is ideal for you. Starts there. So I always say, from my heart to your heart, it's been such an honor and a pleasure to share this time together. Taking some slow breath in and out. One last breath, inhale. Let it go. Let it go. It's my favorite sound. I saved it for last. So how do we feel? So y'all, we've probably spent less than, I don't know, 17 minutes today checking in and kind of noticing. And probably each time you went under and you noticed, maybe you felt something slightly different, or maybe you went deeper. So staying in tune with yourself all day long is important, because we shift energetically, our perspective shift. So this capacity to just pause and give yourself a moment is so powerful. How'd that feel to you? Besides, iPhone is at 30%. It was fine. No. So we feel good, accomplished, grateful. We learned something. We're going to use something. Okay, so all right, this is what I do for a living. So I am not selling, I'm just telling. I love this work. And I have been working with TFI for 5 years, and I do other workshops throughout the year, often online and some in person. For TFI, it's been a great partnership, and I'm so grateful. If there is a need in your organization or anywhere that you could see that I might be able to be plugged in and be of value, I love this type of work, facilitation. I do a lot of strategic planning and coaching, team coaching, and individual coaching and leadership development. So if you know of anybody in need, I want to do this for the rest of my life, so I have to start telling people that I want to do it for the rest of my life. So spread the word. I know you and I talked briefly, but more than anything, in this moment present, y'all have just been just tremendous. And we've covered some vulnerable ground, and it's not easy to talk about this stuff. And it's a long day, man, too, right? So thank you for your time and energy, for your engagement, for you being open, for making me feel welcomed and secure. Y'all definitely created psychological safety for me, and we created it for each other. So much gratitude.